Citizens and residents of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique, this message is to inform you that the leader of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Dickon Mitchell, will be addressing the nation in order to present his party's new vision for Petite Martinique, Carriacou and Grenada. This address will be aired at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, April 27th, on various social media outlets and on all major radio and TV stations, including this medium. For more information and to learn more about Team NDC, please visit ndcgrenada.org. Thank you.
Good evening to all citizens of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada, and to the citizens of Grenada in the diaspora. This is my first national address to you, the citizens of this beloved nation. Permit me, therefore, to introduce and acknowledge my colleagues, the 14 members of the National Democratic Congress, along with me, who are offering themselves as candidates in the upcoming general elections, with the hope of us all serving as members of our next parliament. Mr. Tevin Andrews from Petite Martinique and Carriacou, Mr. Joseph Andal for St. Patrick West, Mr. Quince Britton for St. Mark, Ms. Karine James for St. John, Mr. Jonathan Lacrette for St. George Northwest, Ms. Claudette Joseph for the Tongue of St. George, Andy Williams for South St. George, Philip Telesford for St. George Southeast, Ron Redhead for St. George Northeast, David Andrew for St. Andrew Southeast, Tessa Sincere for St. Andrew Northeast, Gloria Thomas for St. Andrew Northwest, Lennox Andrews for St. Andrew Southwest, Dennis Cornwall for St. Patrick East, and myself, who will be contesting for the constituency of St. David. Citizens of Grenada, 6 months ago, no one thought that I would be standing here addressing the nation as political leader of the National Democratic Congress, leading the party into a general election. But that improbability has turned into reality. I say this to say that if you believe something is possible, it can become a reality. My experience over the past few months has given my life new purpose and new meaning, and I have witnessed firsthand the revitalization of the long dormant Grenadian spirit. A spirit that reflects hope, the audacity of hope, the dawn of a new day, and the dawn of a new era in our politics. An era that our tri-island state deserves. The spirit of hope that leads to accomplishment. That is the spirit that needs to resonate throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. It is the spirit that we need so that our children and grandchildren can believe that their lives will be meaningful, that their lives will be successful, that their lives will be one of accomplishment, that their lives will be one of happiness and enjoyment. It is a spirit of reassurance that our senior and retiring citizens strive for and held on to. the assurance that their hard work in building Grenada over the last 48 years will not go in vain, nor will their standard of living drop as a result of not being paid a pension, or a pension that does not allow them to sustain or maintain their standard of living. It is that spirit that our public service workers held on to for over 30 years in their quest to be paid a pension that is guaranteed by our Constitution and which was wrongfully taken away from them and which they still hold on to. It is a spirit and determination to ensure that they are in fact paid a pension today. It is that spirit which is symbolized by the victory of the public service workers in the High Court against the government, and which has paved the way for the restoration of their pension. It is the same spirit that our ancestors held on to overcome slavery, to be made free men and women. It is the same spirit that our forefathers held on to ensure that Grenada moved from being a colony of Great Britain to being an independent nation on 7th February 1974. It is the spirit that fueled our brothers and sisters during the period of the People's Revolutionary Government. It is the spirit that fueled and still fuels Kirani James, Hollis Mapp, popularly known as Mr. Killer, King Ajamo, Junior Murray, Devon Smith, Aline Francique. It is the same spirit that fueled Jennifer Hostin. It is that same spirit that lives in Tyler Smith, a student of the J.W. Fletcher Secondary School, who plays and enjoys football even though he has one leg. It is that same spirit that fuels so many of our citizens who wake up every day to confront and overcome the many challenges of their lives. Whether it is no money to buy food, no money to buy cooking gas, no money to pay the bus fare to send their children to school, or to buy medication for an ailment, or the lack of a roof over their heads, or their inability to find a job, or to find a job that provides adequate benefits and security. Yet, in the face of these seemingly insurmountable challenges, they persevere. They keep the spirit alive, and against all odds, they overcome and improve their lives and the lives of their loved ones. It is that spirit that requires us as leaders of the National Democratic Congress to commit to the citizens of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada, and to embark upon charting a new course for political public service in Grenada. This requires us to put Grenada and the citizens of Grenada first. It demands that we work in unity and not disunity. It demands of us, in the words of our national anthem, that we aspire, build, and advance as one people together. Not by yourself, not tongue against country, not Carriacou and Petite Martinique against Grenada, not workers against employers, not employers against workers, but all of us working together to move Grenada forward. This demands that we, as our ancestors did, embrace the big challenges that we face as a small island developing nation head on, with bravery, with courage, with energy, with enthusiasm, with creativity, with the assurance that Grenada and Grenadians have always risen to face, meet, and overcome the challenges we have faced in the past. It requires us to back ourselves and be confident in our abilities. It requires us to be bold and to know that as one nation, one people, we can solve the difficult challenges we face and improve the standard of living of all Grenadians. It requires from us an attitude that says, yes, 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 we can do it. Yes, we will move Grenada forward. This time does not call for business as usual. This time calls for ingenuity and a different approach. It does not simply require window dressings, sweet talk, and catchy slogans such as safer hands. It does not require the so-called safer hands that has denied public workers their pensions after 27 years. It does not require the safer hands that have placed several hundreds of our workers on temporary contracts with low wages, job insecurity, poverty, lack of access to loans and financing, and which strips our workers of employment benefits that they are entitled to, like the National Insurance Scheme, severance, and pensions. This period in the life of our nation requires from us a commitment to take bold and decisive action to transform Grenada. It requires us, the citizens of Grenada, to realize that the so-called safer hands lacks the capacity to take or implement any transformative action for Grenada. We, the citizens of Grenada, have given the so-called safer hands over 2 decades to do so. And yet, we face high unemployment, low wages, significant poverty, no pensions, job insecurity, high cost of living, inability to export our fish, and a crumbling road infrastructure, with the major main road collapsing in the constituency of St. George Northwest. Those are not signs of safer hands, but hands that have dropped the ball time and time again. As a small island developing nation with limited resources, we cannot afford wastage. We cannot afford poor planning, and we cannot afford incompetence and mediocre implementation. Grenada and Grenadians deserve the best. The candidates of the National Democratic Congress reflect the best of Grenada. Our team is made up of successful women, youth, senior citizens, retirees, persons who have spent their lives in public service, in education, in the business community, in the private sector, as community and social activists, workers, and organizers. These are men and women who are committed to the transformation of Grenada. Our vision is to transform Grenada into a self-reliant, wealth-creating nation built on the following principles: unity, inclusiveness, not division, partisanship, and tribalism. After all, our national flag is made up of red, gold, and green, not just green and gold. Leadership. Leaders who put others before self. Servant leaders. Leaders who act in the best interests of Grenada and not out of personal ambition. Leaders who serve and then pave the way for others to serve. A wealthy Grenada for Grenadians. Grenadians of all walks, regardless of ethnicity, whether you are black, white, Indian, or Syrian, must have the major stake in the ownership of economic activities in Grenada. The eradication of poverty is our #1 priority. and I re-emphasize, the eradication of poverty is our #1 priority. The workers of Grenada. We must recognize and reward the dignity of work. It is the workers of our nation that have built this nation. We must encourage and reward worker productivity. Our workers must have a major stake in the economic benefits of our country. There must be an end to the so-called contract work. It is illegal. And the same way in which the pension issue has come around 40 years later, it is the same way the contract work issue will come around if we do not solve it now. Our workers must be made permanent or be given indefinite status and be provided with job security. Our workers, not just public service workers, but all workers must be paid pensions or gratuity upon retirement. How we pay our workers must also be transformed. We believe that our Grenadian workers should be paid twice a month. This adjustment will translate to more spending power for our citizens. Bi-monthly payments means that you can go to the supermarket more frequently, you can better take care of your basic needs, and it improves the cash flow of our citizens. Healthcare. Our nation deserves a first-class health system that provides accessible and affordable health to all its citizens. The transformation of our healthcare system is an immediate priority. We must be ambitious when imagining the healthcare Grenadians deserve. We need modern hospital services that can treat the problems of Grenadians at home. Additionally, we need better primary care and a national health insurance scheme. Education. The reshaping of our education system to meet the immediate and long-term needs of our citizens is an absolute priority. We must revamp our curriculum to meet the modern needs of Grenada. Vocational, technical and skills training centers must be made a priority, and these centers must be opened particularly in our rural communities. Our education system must include the creative arts and digital technology. We must teach computer literacy not just to our young students, but to our adult population as well. The productive economy. Our agriculture and agro-processing, fishing and marine industries, and tourism must be the backbone of our economic development. We must therefore ensure that our education system is reflective of this by educating our population specific to these industries. We need to create an enabling economic environment for business to grow and flourish. Additionally, we must begin to tap into the tremendous potential of the creative economy. Grenada is full of talent and creativity, and we must make it a priority to maximize on the opportunities available in these areas. This potential is enormous, and lives can be transformed once we make calculated investments and train our people, especially our youth, properly. Housing. Each Grenadian must have an opportunity to own his or her own home. We will embark in partnership with the private sector to design, build, and make available safe and sound homes in each parish in Grenada. The construction of these houses will commence at the same time and will be made available to our citizens for purchase once completed. Energy. We will make Grenada a hub for renewable energy and ensure that the majority of our energy needs are met by solar, wind, wave, and other renewable forms of energy, so that we are not totally dependent on the importation of fossil fuel to drive our economy. Ultimately, we must preside over a safe, secure, and sovereign Grenada. We shall maintain and preserve Grenada as a safe and happy nation of which we can all be proud. Citizens of Grenada, over the next several weeks, the National Democratic Congress will set out in detail, on a weekly basis, its transformative agenda for Grenada, commencing next Wednesday. We will focus on our plan to pay the pensions to our public servants, our plan to regularize and make permanent the contract and Imani workers, our plan to ensure that there is permanent, affordable, accessible, and efficient dispute resolution procedures to address disputes between employers and employees and unions and employers. To ensure transparency and accountability in the SEED program so that the funds are being paid to Grenadians who deserve them and that the funds are not being stolen or used for improper purposes. We can only keep Grenada safe and continue to make it a happy and proud nation by addressing and overcoming the challenges we face today and those we will face tomorrow, by embracing our collective strength, our resilience, our creativity, our compassion, and by committing to positive and meaningful change. Positive change that will move Grenada forward. That positive change is the National Democratic Congress. Let's move Grenada forward by voting for the National Democratic Congress, by voting for a transformed Grenada. A transformed Grenada where all of us, regardless of background, ethnicity, age, gender, or job, will be proud to call home. A Grenada that citizens in the diaspora will be proud to speak of. A Grenada that they will be proud to return to and live in. A Grenada that produces more Kirani Jameses, more King Ajamos, more Mr. Killers, more Jennifer Hostins, more Sir Royston Hopkins. A Grenada that produces more entrepreneurs and businessmen and women like Shadell Nayak Compton, like Anselm Latouche, like Peter Andel. A Grenada that produces more business families like the Purcells, the Ramdanis, and the Hadids. A Grenada where we all boast of Grenada's great healthcare. A Grenada where our roads are first class and not falling into the sea. A Grenada with sidewalks alongside our roads. A Grenada with road signs. A Grenada with signs identifying the names of our streets and villages. A Grenada with playing fields, playgrounds, sporting facilities, and green spaces for our children, teenagers, and elders. A Grenada with 100% computer literacy. A Grenada with zero poverty. A Grenada where all our citizens can own their own homes. A Grenada that once again becomes the Isle of Spice. A Grenada that feeds itself. A Grenada where our children can say, together, in one voice, that I love my Grenada, my home of beauty, love, prosperity, and peace. Thank you. May God continue to bless and protect us all as Grenadians.
Fellow citizens and residents of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, this message is to inform you that the leader of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Dickon Mitchell, will be addressing the nation in order to present his party's new vision for Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. This address will be aired at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, April 27th, on various social media outlets and on all major radio and TV stations, including this medium. For more information and to learn more about Team NDC, please visit ndcgrenada.org. Thank you.
The preceding was a paid political announcement. The views expressed are of the client and not the